Hi everyone, welcome back to River and Rune. Thank you guys for joining me on the channel today. I'm very excited to get into the runes and see what's in store for the week ahead. But before we do that, I wanted to discuss the coming of the next Celtic month. So, we are about to enter into the month of Ivy, or in Irish, Gort. And it's such an interesting month because ivy is such a powerful plant that's associated with growth and movement and the underbrush and all of the hidden things. And ivy also has the tenacity to grow onto things that normally plants wouldn't grow on, right? But there's also the darker side of the element of ivy, where there's the gripping of things that may or may not belong to us, right? This idea of seeking senses of identity. So the month of Ivy is very special because it is the month as we're heading into Samhain, as we're heading into the Celtic New Year, which is going to be really exciting because I feel like October is going to be a wild month. This is my feeling. Very fun month. But yes, as it says here in my lovely book, the Celtic Lunar Zodiac, it says at the bottom here, I am a ruthless boar. And what that represents is this juxtaposition between the coming of the darkness and the ending of the light. Because now we are edging into the half of the year, since we have just passed the equinox, where the darkness is now overwhelming the day. So for those of you in the northern hemisphere, I'm sure you guys have started to see that the light goes much quicker than it had a couple of weeks ago. So that is the idea, the ruthlessness of the darkness of the moon, the ruthlessness of the hidden things inside of us, our desires, our hopes, things that we may not have looked at for a long time. And it's time to go down into there and find out what's happening. So that's why October is going to be a fun month. But let's get to the runes and see what we have in store for the week ahead. We also have a beautiful full moon in Aries coming up, which is going to be really fun. And for those of you who are interested in the lunation cycles of our beautiful moon, coming into contact with the energy of Aries is really invigorating our internal life, right? It's kind of like the spark of wildfire in our emotions. So it's going to be a really fun time to think about the things that you really want to do in life. But we'll get into that. Oh, we have so much today. So much. Okay, so let's see how fast I can go through it. I like to keep the readings under 15 minutes. So, as you guys know who frequent the channel, we start in the center of this rune table and then ripple outward as if we're rippling over the ocean of time. So, I find it very curious because it feels like there's a lot up in the air, and the way that the stones have fallen, it feels like things are falling from the sky, like fireworks or something, you know, like when you see a firework burst into the sky and then it just rains down those showers of light, sparks of energy. Like it feels like that. Or it feels like when you strike in the old world, when you were to strike the metal on the forge, and once that hammer struck the steel, there was that big poof, like the smashing of embers and the flying of little things. It's like that. October feels like that. This week feels like that. It feels like there's a lot of energy, a lot of things happening. So we have in the center of our reading Yera, And Yera is a beautiful, beautiful stone for those of you who frequent the channel and who remember this rune. Yera is the stone or the rune of the harvest, of cycles, of seasons, of changing of seasons, right? Oftentimes it can represent the cyclicality of life. When it comes to a more merkstav reading, which is hard for that one because depending on whether it's flipped upright or reversed, it's the same symbol. So oftentimes you'll have to read the energy of Yera associated with what's around us, right? And what's around it. So in this case, there's a lot about the cycles and seasons and the wealth and abundance of the things that we have put into place. Because next to it, we have Ingwas, which is the rune of the earth, of fertility, of fecundity, abundance, and also of grounding manifestation. And then we also have, coming towards the side here, Rido and Merkstav. So, which to me, for some interesting reason, does not have the same negative polarity or a more like heavier energy to it. It feels more like there has been a lot of cycles closing, a lot of grounding into one's sense of self. For those of you who watch the channel, perhaps you've been going through certain situations in your relationships, in your business partnerships, in perhaps like not, perhaps being, you know, especially in the state of how the pandemic is and how things are going, working through things jobless, but going through the motions of life and things like that. There's a lot of an upheaval that has been happening for a lot of us, whether it's physically or emotionally, or even spiritually. And it reminds me of this coming of the end, an end of a season, right? It's the end of a season for a lot of us. And this season, this end is bringing us a lot of growth. So this week is very jam-packed. So I can expect for a lot of us to start realizing that certain cycles are ending and they can no longer move forward with us into our new life. Hence the Rido in Merkstav. Things are, those old cycles are done. They're closed, they can't continue going forward, right? And so I wouldn't be surprised if you have old lovers returning and trying to talk to you and you're in a different space and say like, no, this is not what I need anymore. Or perhaps you may be drawn to job opportunity that you normally would be drawn to, but you realize, hey, this is not really what I want anymore. It doesn't matter if you're giving me a raise or something, like I want something new. I want newness for myself, and I want to be more true to who I am and live more authentically. So that energy of this closing of cycles, this grounding into one's abundance, and then leaving behind the things that you don't need anymore seems to be a very powerful start to this week, to the energy of this week. And moving on, I feel to go in a little bit of a circle here. We have Ewas, which is a beautiful rune. This is the rune of the yew tree. And the yew tree is associated with everlasting life, with longevity, with regeneration, with death and transformation, also with liminality. But this rune oftentimes is associated with steadfastness, with courage, with reliability. There's something reliable about Ewas. So what I'm sensing is that you may encounter during this process of closing this old cycle, later this week, maybe Thursday, Friday or so, or later on, you may be with friends, maybe with family, maybe with a romantic partner or whoever it may be, that you feel is reliable, that can help you through this process, right? Can help you through this ending of a season. Or perhaps it suggests that it's time to connect to your inner reliability, to rely on yourself, on your resources, and on the things that you can provide, because you have it all. Everything that you need is within. And Spirit is saying, you've got this. Now, next up, we have these two that have come into juxtaposition, which I find quite interesting. So, we have Urus, which fell in Merkstav, and we have Ansus that also fell in Merkstav. Now, Urus has a lot to do with physical health and well-being. Ansus has a lot to do with our mental capacity, with listening to the messages of the gods or things like that. The feeling that I'm getting is that this very powerful transformative time for a lot of us has left us feeling a little drained, a little tired. Perhaps, you've been waking up having a lot of headaches, or you've been waking up and the aches and pains that you don't normally have, or perhaps you just feel like you need to rest more. But it feels to me that there's a lot of this mental energy flowing through, a lot of this spiritual energy that's flowing through this week that is attributing to physical fatigue. On top of that, the feeling and what I'm hearing is that allow yourself to slow the movement of your mind, because I feel like there's a lot of overthinking happening for many of us, especially with all of these changes that are happening this week. And this impetus that we're feeling, and with this moon coming up in Aries, this drive that we're feeling, right? This drive to do something. Don't overthink it, because that overthinking is going to prevent you from tapping into your intuition and dropping into the value of rest, which is quite a revolutionary act, which I believe Audre Lorde had a connection with. I think she may have said that. But don't quote me on that. Then, towards the end of this reading, this is very powerful. We have Gebel, which is the rune of gift giving, of equivalent exchange. I haven't seen that in a while. And then we have Dagas, which is one of the 3 fire runes, and is the rune of the day, the coming of day, of enlightenment. So it feels like, as a friend of mine earlier today said, expect miracles. Expect something really cool to happen, because Gebel is about equivalent exchange. But because you've been putting so much effort into transforming not only your mental narratives that you've been playing out in your mind that have been attributing and contributing to your physical fatigue, but you have made so much effort into connecting to this abundance, into changing where you want to go in life, into relying on yourself, that it is saying that the universe will give you that equivalent energy in return. There will be this gift, and right now we are in the process of cleaning our hands, of washing our hands from the dirt, the grime, and perhaps putting anything that we have in our hands down. So a current relationship that we may not want, put it down. Rest it in ease. A current job that we may not want, and we want something different, put it down. Put your notice in. Something like that, like whatever it may be. In order to receive the gift of the universe, your hands have to be empty. You can't receive something if your hands are full. And so the idea is that we've been working through this with Yera here, with Ingwas, with Raido in Merkstav, all of this energy saying we're leaving behind the cycles of the past and we're cleaning our hands for something new. That is what Gebel is suggesting, that there is a newness coming. So by the end of the week, I wouldn't be surprised if you have a windfall, or if you get in contact with someone who you haven't gotten in contact with in a really long time, and all of a sudden everything just clicks. Whatever it may be, keep a lookout for these small miracles, no matter how big or how large or how small they may be. And there's a lot more to come with this Dagas. A lot more revelation to come by the end of the week. Perhaps you may be aware of a new psychological process, aware of something that you've been thinking about for a long time. Whatever it may be, there's something new coming in that way. Whew. So, that's what we have for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Of course, if you like this video, please like and subscribe so that you know whenever I send out any new video. And super fun news, I was interviewed by The Woke Mystic, which is a really great podcast hosted by Ellen and Imani, 2 beautiful souls. And I believe that is going to be released tomorrow on October 1st, so please feel free to check that out. I think you guys will have some fun talking and listening to some cool stuff about my near-death experience, about mythology, and about the runes. We're going to talk a little bit more about them. So please feel free to check that out. Thank you guys again for joining me on the channel today. I'm really appreciative of you guys sharing my practice with me. And of course, let me know in the comments below if you want to have a specific question come up or something like that. I think that'll be fun to work with. So I'll see you guys soon on River and Rune. All right, everyone? Bye.